Kat, welcome to this skill short. Today we are talking about disc tendencies and specifically what happens when we're overextended. So I know you have a story about this, but tell me a little bit first about what it looks like when you're overextended for certain disc styles.
So it can show up a little bit differently depending on the disc tendency. The D tendency really needs to find control. And if they don't have it, sometimes that might show up as a little bit of impatience when they're overextended, right? Because they want to be moving forward. They might lose their patience when they're overextended.
Gotcha.
The primary I tendency might appear to be really disorganized when they're overextended. Those details sometimes aren't their jam. And so if a lot's going on or if there's high levels of stress, they might appear to be a bit disorganized.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can relate to that one at all.
You know I can.
A little bit. You're not. I'm like, you might be
Yeah.
picking up on this a little, Adam.
Yeah.
Primary S tendency, their possessiveness can come out when they're feeling overextended. And that might look like possessiveness over a person, over a task, maybe even their feelings. They might choose to hold those really close and kind of withdraw and become possessive of those when they're stressed.
Yeah.
And then the primary C tendency, they can become maybe a little bit overly critical when they're under stress, either of themselves or of other people or a task, right? Because their psychological need is for perfection. And so if they're under stress, that criticism can come out to try to get to that perfection.
I've seen that happen with D tendencies where that need for perfection also turns into almost a downward spiral. And it's not too far into depth of what that can look like, but I know I've just seen that in my life.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure, right? You're like craving to make something better, and then if it's not better, well, why isn't it? And then just keep going into this kind of that headspace. Yeah.
Yeah, into kind of a negative can lead to a negative headspace. So you shared a story with me. Tell me about one time when you were in a situation and you felt like you were overextended, and tell me what that looked like for you.
Sure. Yep. So my primary disc tendency is S. So that possessiveness piece can come out a little bit when I'm feeling stressed or maybe have a lot of things on my plate. And I have a very distinct memory a couple years ago at work. For a little while, it was just me and my direct leader on our team. We were the only two people who made up our team. So I was very used to being able to go to her with questions, getting a quick response, just kind of like bouncing back and forth off of each other for a while. And then our organization grew and our company hired and we had a new person to our team, which was great. Was very excited about that. We needed it. But all of a sudden it was no longer just me and my leader. Now I had to share her.
Yep.
And under times when I had a lot on my plate or was very stressed and she, had to be working with somebody else, I could feel that possessiveness kind of coming out and thinking, oh no, like she was mine first. And now I have to share her. Or, I have less access to her than I did before because her time, rightfully so, needed to go to someone else. And I remember being grateful that I was aware of my disc tendencies to be able to name like, oh, Kat, you're getting a little possessive right now.
Yeah.
Let's like tone it back or think about how we want to approach this. And I'm a little bit, it's interesting to think about how I could have acted if I wasn't aware of that, because I think it could have been not the best.
Right. You could have.
Yeah.
I'm thinking like you could have built resentment that really wasn't necessary potentially.
Right.
Like, hidden intentions that, you think are happening, but, you're really just, that's not the truth at all. And the other interesting element that I think about in this situation is you might have really truly been exceptionally happy to have another team member to help with the workload, but it's still hard sometimes to let go of things that you are, used to holding on to.
Oh, that's a great point, Adam. And I actually hadn't even thought about that until right now, right? That possessiveness over tasks and things that I had been responsible for before and didn't need to be anymore could now be shifted to someone else. But there's still that element of, oh, well, I've been the one who has done that in the past. So I'm a little possessive over it still.
Yep. I know I run into that space sometimes with tasks when I'm used to doing things the way I've been doing them. And sometimes I'm like, hey, I got it still. But in the end, like if I look back on something that's in my mind right now, I'm like, it's been okay to let that go. It's freed me up to do other work. So,
right. And very possibly they do it better than I did anyway.
Yep. Or it allows me to do work that's more directly related to my talent skill set that,
Yeah.
helps the company produce content that, really moves us forward. So
Hmm.
it's hard sometimes to let go of those things, but we are still team-oriented people. I think S tendency is also a team-oriented person. Is that right? Or maybe
Yeah.
that's my I tendency. I don't remember. But
No, you got it. Yeah, that S tendency loves to be part of a team. So I did kind of find myself in this weird space where I'm like, I know this is good that I'm part of a bigger team and
yeah.
we're growing and have more insights and skills that are part of it. Yet at the same time, this change that the S tendency doesn't generally prefer, and this possessiveness are kind of also rearing their heads. So it's that balance between the two and being aware that, you know, you can see the good in one thing, but also have some type of emotional response to it at the same time.
Awesome. Kat, thank you so much for this reminder about at times when we're overextended, what we can do about it. Sit back and reflect, think what's happening, look at our disc styles. It might help explain a few things. Thank you so much
Mm-hmm.
for taking time today to talk to me about it.
Yes, you're welcome, Adam. Thanks for having me. See you next time.